So, getting ready, talking more about the differences between men and women and what makes the Sex Tips for Men course so interesting and so helpful. And so, again, even thinking this week about the differences between men and women and how some of those things can come and play themselves out, the thing I start to realize is that really the ideas that men have about sex, the stuff that they figured out through the years of listening to whatever is going on or what they're being told, it's largely really different than how women would see it. What's really kind of funny is one of the scenes that I always thought of during my kind of growing up in the 90s and all that kind of stuff was the scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Damone is setting the stage and telling guys what they need to know to score with a woman. And the point that's so interesting is he's not as wrong as he might sound like because he's not really coming at it from the right angle, but still the idea of the mood and everything else, it's not the stupidest thing you've ever heard. And so as I think about that and think about how to relay it to you, the point that I would make is that women are not as visual as men are. That's the number one thing. And I think that's one of the kind of disconnect points between men and women in this day and age. Because, of course, men think about sex as being visual. And maybe this whole idea of the dick pic phenomenon or whatever else, maybe that is something that is just a man's way of saying, you either want to do me on the first date or I have no interest. And if that's where you're going, that's fine. But that's not going to give you the access to the women who are most desirable and have the most to offer. And so if that's what you're going for, you may get it by sending a random picture of your genitalia. But the thing is, that goes back to my statement about women not being female men. In other words, most guys are not opposed to seeing the woman they're interested in a very revealing or butt naked picture. But number one, I don't think that, and I don't think this is not as universal as it used to be, because speaking to women at the beginning of the cell phone era, you definitely got the picture that they were getting a lot of pictures that they didn't want of the ever so fars. Now, I think it's a little bit more, I think there's a little more women kind of sinking to the men's level on this, which is nice for certain men, but it doesn't really help what you're trying to do, which is give them the sense of what they need. And that's why I think that one of the things you need to start thinking about is how your words represent what's going on, how the idea is not the first strike dick pic. It's actually maybe even the reverse of saying, I don't want to see those things, because telling them what you don't want to do actually has a strong effect. And if you say, I know other guys send those, but that's not what I'm interested in. I want to hear about you. And that may be something that guys don't want to hear. They don't want to hear that they might have to open their mind or say more things or spend more time. But I think that as a practical matter, I think if you're thinking about what you would like to have happen between the man and the woman, I think that the opposite of saying, no, I don't want to see that, and no, that's not what I'm after, will actually help you more than immediately thinking that sending the right girl your dick pic is going to be the most helpful thing. And again, it's all just connected to how differently men and women rev up, whatever you want to call it. And again, it doesn't apply to every woman. There might be women who just say, oh, yeah, that's what I want, is immediately somebody I don't even know to see a picture of their genitalia. But all the research and all the women that I've been with, that really does not seem to be the main goal for most of them. And I think that if they are getting interested and to the point that they might want to see that thing, it's better to have erred on the side of, talking to them for too long instead of too short. And so that's just a point of things that you can learn to give more of a wide opening, more chances to get them interested and take them more along the line of what you really want to do, because your ultimate goal is to use the kissing and use the words and all the things that we're going to talk about in more detail to actually give you a better chance to end up having the result that you want, which is more good results in the bedroom. And so you know that this is sextipsformen.net, and you know that if you call us or if you write right now to sextipsformen@yahoo.com, you can actually let me know that you're interested in signing up for some of the early training at a much discounted rate of $97. And so if you're interested and want to hear more about that, send us an email. And otherwise, just continue to realize that the way that men are constructed and the things that they want to, what they think will interest the woman and excite her and everything else, that's very different than what the women think. And that's what we're trying to get to, and trying to spend more time in the bedroom and more time and less time outside thinking of interesting ways to send the pictures of your schlong. So go check out sextipsformen.net and send me some sort of feedback on this and what you want to see, and we'll get right back with you and send you more videos. And now I'm going to try to figure out how to turn this off. And I'll eventually find it. I don't know why it's doing this, but it's not working.